So this is episode 1 of Oluswole, the podcast on the budget. I'm excited to welcome our first guest, a living example of Black excellence, college admission extraordinaire, aka my oldest sister. Dami, what's good?
Hey, okay, I have to ask, first of all, why is it called the podcast on a budget?
That's a good question. The reason why is because, when you're listening to a podcast, the podcast usually has some sort of slogan or mantra. And when I was still in the brainstorming stage, when it came to making this podcast, um, I was thinking, like, what should mine be? And then I was thinking, if I want to have a podcast, I'm not entirely sure what the main topic will be. But what I do know is that it's going to be, I'm going to make sure that I keep my costs low. So I made sure I stuck to that when I was buying equipment. And now I call it the podcast on a budget,
So you're advertising the fact that your podcast is cheap. That's the slogan.
It's not cheap. It's just cost effective.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm down for euphemisms.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah. So how does it feel to be the first, guest on Oluswole? It's quite the honor.
Yeah, it is an honor. And thanks for the intro too. I honestly, like the whole day, I've been so excited. Like Wednesday is my most difficult class day, but I knew I had this. I was like, oh, I'm so excited, so excited. But I'm also like nervous because like, what are you gonna ask me? I have no preparation, but I'm mostly excited. I'm so proud of you for doing all this. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Appreciate the support. There's no need to be nervous though, because it's pretty chill, pretty laid back environment. I prepared a little bit, I was trying to brainstorm some stuff to ask, because I think it's harder when you know someone so well to think of genuine questions to ask them. Because if it was someone who I didn't know, there's so many like things off the top of my head that I want to learn about them. But for you, it's just like I know everything about you, so it's just like. What do I ask?
Yeah.
Well, I want to start with COVID, because obviously that's something that's a problem. That's, it's a global pandemic. Obviously a pandemic is global, but people call it a global pandemic. And it's something that has affected everyone in some sort of way. So for you, you're at Yale right now, and COVID took away the second semester of sophomore year, took away the first semester junior year. What was that like?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, yeah, it was definitely hard. I remember at the end of sophomore year, we thought we were all going on spring break, and we heard about COVID. We were like, oh, it's like in Washington or whatever, blah, 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 blah. We'll be fine. And then they started putting like hand sanitizers like ominously around Yale. And I was like, okay. But no one thought twice about it. I was just like, as a germaphobe, I was like, I'm down for this. I hate touching like the doors and handles anyway. But then I got back home, and then weeks later, the dean emailed and said, hey guys, stay at home. And I was like, wow. But everyone thought like, okay, well, we'll be back in the fall. I think I posted something on Instagram at the end of the semester. I was like, oh, see you guys in September. And while Yale did open in the fall, as you know, our parents had qualms about us going to school in person. I had the option to do so, but I had to stay at home, which was difficult. Like doing school remotely, doing school on Zoom period is not correct. Like college on Zoom is not the way it should be. And then doing that 9 hours ahead of New Haven time when you're like typing away at 3 a.m. so you could be on the class Zoom at the right time. Like it's really hard. But at the end of the day, it was a good experience. I would not choose to do it again, but I learned a lot. Just like spending time with family, learning how to value people, learning how to keep up relationships with the friends who were here, and things like that. So yeah, it obviously sucks, but I've learned a lot. And yeah, I mean, I'm back on campus now, so I'm very happy, and I'm just kind of pretending it never happened. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a interesting take because in my case, I'm a freshman in college, so this is all that I've ever known. Zoom University. That's my only. I didn't really have that feeling of like I lost something because this is the only thing I've ever experienced, and I was
Yeah.
so excited to just get out of high school. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, it was definitely hard being 9 hours ahead. But you said that you learned how to value people when you were doing the semester online. And that kind of leads into another question I wanted to ask you is like, how did that experience contribute to your own personal growth as an individual?
Yeah. So I'm not really someone who self-reflects often, which is bad. I just kind of just like bulldoze my way through life and don't really sit back and think about what I'm doing. But being stuck at home with the same four people for 10 months kind of forces you to spend time with yourself, which is actually something that I continue to do now. And yeah, I mean, one thing that I learned a lot was like valuing people. So pre-COVID, and still now to a degree, I'm known for not responding to people. Literally, it's not even personal.
Yeah, we
I
know.
see the mess. Yeah,
We
you
know.
obviously know. You're the only person I consistently respond to, even though I know you're the one who will be least offended if I don't respond to you. It's weird. But I was just like, they're my friend. They're not going to leave. They're not going anywhere. I see the notification. I'll get to it when I get to it. Being stuck at home so far away from all my friends, you don't have the option to do that. So I definitely like sheepishly responded to people I hadn't responded to in 4 months, and people responded back. So I'm happy for one, that I have great friends who love me, even though I just am the worst responder. But I just learned like the the value of people. Like I know that I value people inside my own heart, but I realize obviously if I don't say anything about it, people won't realize that. So just kind of being more expressive. That's one thing I've learned a lot. And also that ties to valuing our family too, our nuclear family. Obviously I was with them for so long, and every second I was like itching to go back. Myself and our dad, obviously we had some, not arguments, but arguments about, oh well, looks like you're doing well at school, you should just stay here forever. I was like, I'm hightailing it the second I can go back. But even despite all of those like moments when we were not crammed, but like crammed in the same space, I did learn to even value my own family more. And I mean, yeah, it's just realizing the value of people and expressing them and just telling people that I value them. That's probably the main ways I grew over the past months.
That was a dope response. I don't even know what I would say if I was asked that,
Yeah.
because for me, it was just like,
It's because you just
I
played FIFA all day.
no, not in college though.
Oh, okay.
Oh wait, no. That was after senior year. Yeah,
Oh
yeah, after
yeah,
senior
yeah.
year. Yeah, so during college, I wasn't playing FIFA, but when we were just like, because we finished school, we didn't have A-level exams, right? So we
Mm.
finished school like May 17th, and we were stuck at home. So then I'm just like, and we were under lockdown, so I couldn't go out. So I was like, guess I had nothing to do. Might as well play career mode on FIFA all day. That's pretty much what I was doing. It was the whole vibe. Like I would just get my headphones, like open my Spotify playlist, just connect to
Of
that.
the same four songs.
pretty
Yeah.
much, pretty much. Bring the chair to like the living room. No, the
Yeah.
chair by the desk in the study. I used to bring it
Yeah.
in front of the couch, and then I
Yeah.
just position myself there. So I like having backrest when I'm gaming, and then to play some FIFA. Like that was the vibe. Because senior year, yeah, we didn't have graduation, which is kind of unfortunate. We didn't have prom, but I don't really care about prom. Like I wanted my money back, and I never got that back. But That's neither here
That's
nor
a
there.
whole nother can of worms.
Exactly. But yeah, it was senior year was pretty chill. That was the equivalent to your, second semester sophomore year. I can imagine it was a lot worse for you because I was trying to get out. You were trying to stay in,
Yeah.
But I would say personal growth. It just taught me how to be more disciplined because I was like doing a lot of things by myself when I was a freshman in college. Well, I still am a freshman in college, but doing my first semester at home, you really have to hold yourself accountable. And I was doing, oh my gosh, any Penn people are listening to this, I was doing Math 104, just which is a very time-consuming class. Just go on Penn's Reddit, type in Math 104, you'll see a bunch of people whining, and because it's it's a tough class. That class was just taking all my time. But yeah, it was kind of a rude awakening with that class, but it kind of helped me to position myself for college years better. So I want to fast forward to the present. So you're on campus right now. You were itching to get on campus when you were back home. So my question is, has living on campus lived up to your own expectations?
Yeah, I would honestly say yes. And that's because my expectations weren't, I'm going to go on campus and we're going to party every day and da 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 da. I'm fully aware there's a global pandemic going on. So honestly, yes. And honestly, even better, because when I knew, like back in Abu Dhabi, when I finally knew that I was going to be on campus this semester and we were talking about the plans and stuff like that, part of me was scared for two main reasons. One, COVID. I'd been in my house in a country that has managed COVID really, really well for 10 months. So I'd experienced it, of course, but not really fully experienced it like it's going on in the US. So just like health reasons, that was scary for me. And then number two, I was kind of fearful just about like social interactions, how I operate with suite mates again, with living with 6 other people and stuff like that. So those two things were a bit scary when I was thinking about them, but I'm also an overthinker, so I was thinking too much about them. When I got here, honestly, like I love it so much. I love everyone I live with. Well, we're lucky because there are a lot of people here at Yale that are like in a suite of 2 or in a suite of 3 or even by themselves alone in a suite, versus we're 7 people. So it's kind of like a party without having to bring anyone into our pod, which is a lot of fun. And I mean, COVID wise, we get tested twice a week and people social distance. I mean, wear masks everywhere, stuff like that. Everyone's very safe. So I feel very, very comfortable. I'm so happy. And yeah, it might have exceeded my expectations, honestly, a little bit. Yeah. What about you? Because this is your first time like on campus. On the one hand, it was annoying because you were like, "Oh, I'm in Philly, da 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 da. I'm here, blah blah blah. Can't wait to get to college." Because you have this vibe about you. Like I can't describe it, but you have this annoying vibe. It's just a vibe, and you just embraced it to its fullest extent when you landed on Philly soil. But setting that aside, like, what's it like? Well, what's it like being like on campus? Like, this is your first time, really?
Yeah, I'd say it's been great so far because, obviously I don't have anything to compare it to, but I knew that the worst case scenario, I have to study in my room and we can't do anything, but I can still be in the city that I go to school in, which is not even the case. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the majority of spaces or public spaces aren't really open for you to study, and it's also cold, so people aren't trying to do that. So I do pretty much all my studying in my room. But at least like last week I went to Chick-fil-A with some people. What is it? I think a few days ago I went to Chipotle with someone. Like I can actually have social interactions with people that I see on campus. And, it's kind of refreshing because even when I just go to like make a quick dash to one of the dining locations to grab a meal, I will see someone who I know on the way, or I'll see someone who I know, and there's someone else who I don't know. They introduce yourself to the other person, and then next time you see that other person, like, you guys are cool.
Yeah.
So it's just refreshing to have that level of social interaction, because when I was in Abu Dhabi, right, when I was doing my first semester, most of my friends were outside of the country. It kind of flips, like, so most of them start off the year at uni, and then they went back home.
At uni.
At uni, yeah. Then Boris Johnson sent them back home. So after that, but for me, it was the opposite. So when I was there, there weren't really any moves. And then on top of that, it was dead, yeah. And then on top of that, I was operating in a different time zone. I was sleeping at like 8 in the morning, my time, 8 or 9 in the morning. And I was waking up around like 3, 4 p.m.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's not, if you do the conversions, that's not really what I do here, but it's much closer to it's much closer to Eastern time than it is to Abu Dhabi time. If there was like, I don't know, a more Eastern coast in Eastern time, like there's like a more Eastern part of the United States that had a time zone, that's the time zone I was operating in. Maybe it was like the Eastern part of Brazil, or like that part. Like, yeah, so it's definitely nice just being around people. That was the main thing.
Yeah, that's so
it's like such a vibrant city,
Yeah. And just like the independence, I know you have been craving as a second child and as the last born. Man, you have been like itching for independence your entire life. And I've had a lot of it. Well, that's debatable, but I've had a lot of it. And I'm like, it's not that great. But I guess this is your first like freedom experience.
Would you say it's not great?
No, I think it's overrated. Like, yeah, freedom and independence is great, but I think I'm coming from a place where I've had it all my life, kind of, as a firstborn, versus you. Not so much. It depends on the scenario. But
yeah, I'm kind of surprised you said that, because I didn't think you would say that you felt that you've had independence all your life. So I feel like sometimes, like, when you were in high school, you're trying to go somewhere and then you couldn't go for reason X or reason Y. Like, I'm kind of surprised you said you had independence, because if you're in college in the exact same scenario, you'd probably just go. I'm not trying to snitch on you, but like, that's what you probably would do.
No, of course. No, I understand why you're surprised as well, because like, I'm looking at it, if you average out like my whole life, I've had a lot of like experience. I know the moments you're talking about, but something like, I don't know. Okay, you can cut this out if you want to. But like when we were in Philly and you couldn't exactly go out by yourself to get food, which I would have been able to do years before. Things like that. You know what I mean? And that's like a firstborn, lastborn thing. There's also a woman, man element of freedom, which is a whole nother, thing. But I think overall, I've had it.
Yeah, I do agree with you, and I'm not going to cut that out. I think it makes for good listening content. But in that scenario, I said that, I was like, come on. I was like, because in that scenario, I was like, next week, I'm going to go out and get food.
Gallivanting around Philadelphia.
Exactly. Like, pretty much every time I go to get food, because I'm living in a corner of campus and there are not many people in my college house, right? So pretty much even when I go to meet people, I'm usually walking to that place by myself. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I didn't really, I disagreed with it. just to put it, frankly. But yeah, I would say you've had more independence than I've had, but at the same time, I was definitely itching for it more when I was a little kid. Because being the younger one, like being the youngest, you're just trusted less. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With like responsibilities, there are things that I thought I could handle, but I was never really given the opportunity. I was never given the opportunity to
to handle
I was never
it.
put in positions where I could exercise my own responsibility because there's someone older who was there.
Yeah.
And I never
and
felt
as
like
the person who had the responsibilities, you did not want the responsibilities. Like, trust me, it's because you always want what you don't have. Trust me on that. Just be thankful.
It's like, here's the thing. I didn't want, so like, if when things go wrong, obviously the burden falls on you because you're the oldest, right? I didn't want that. Like, that's just the part I don't like. When it comes to little stuff, like, because we're less than 2 years apart, so I never saw you as like someone who's like way older than me. You know what I mean? Because we grew up together. So when I saw them give responsibility to you, I always thought, I was like, I could probably do that too. That's how
Why not both of us? ¿Por qué no los dos?
Yeah, that's how I felt.
Yeah.
But to answer your original question, like you said like, how's like the independent life been? I say it's been pretty good. Like, it's kind of what I expected because I did a summer program here when I was 17, or I was 16 for most of it. And I turned 17 at the end, and it was I already have a taste of what it's like to live on your own. I can cook at a basic level, but I don't even need to cook because we're keeping on the they're keeping us on the dining plan.
You can cook at a what?
I can cook at a competent level.
What can you cook?
I can make all sorts of eggs. I can make rice. I can make instant noodles.
Instant noodles is not cooking.
Borderline. If it requires a pot and heat, borderline.
So boiling water is cooking.
A pot, heat, and like substance.
Water substance.
Like solid substance.
Okay.
Because making pasta is cooking, right? That's similar to making instant noodles.
That's true. Just continue. Just keep going.
Yeah, I was talking about being independent. So I was here last year, and I already knew how it was like to live away from family, just kind of like make your own decisions on your own. And now it's cool. Like, I knew what I was getting into, and I think it's nice. Like, I don't have to tell people where I'm going. It's just like, even though I can probably go if I ask them. Excuse me. But if I just want to hang out with friends, I can just like go and do that. That's what I've been doing. You have to be more vigilant because if you get caught lacking, that's entirely on you, right? And you can't depend on someone else to help you navigate through places. But it's definitely been a great experience, and something that I feel like once I leave, I'll be craving it. I'll be craving it again.
Yeah.
I mean, leave as in after first year ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's natural. I'm happy for you though.
Yeah. Thanks. So when you were talking about your own college experience, I remember you said that the social interactions have been really good. How hard is it? Well, maybe because your friend group is already pretty defined because we're a junior, but how hard is it to, like, in this COVID-19 era where everyone's wearing masks, how hard is it to like be social and like identify people when they're all masked up?
Yeah, no, it's it's interesting. So, I mean, like I said, I didn't exaggerate. I didn't have like very, very crazy high expectations about being here. So I knew it was going to be different. And I mean, first of all, there's so many of my friends who just aren't here. Like they're on gap semesters, they're on gap years, they're working, they're doing literally anything but being in school right now, which makes sense. Or they're at home remote. But most of them are on gaps because they don't want to experience this COVID time. So with the people who are here, I mean, as a junior, normally it's kind of hard to make new friends. As a junior doing their junior year during COVID, it's like nearly impossible. But once again, like I'm very happy. Um, in terms of like my social groups, like once again, my suite is a social group. Like we just do everything together. We chill on the weekends, we play games, we watch Love Island like every single night. We talk in British accents all the time, which is really bad.
I
And
think that
then I think that yeah.
I think that she's not my type on paper.
It's not my type on paper, but we have a connection in it. Um it's so bad. But I mean, so I'm very happy just with like my living situation, and also because there aren't a lot of things for people to do. We're very like insular, but in a healthy way, in that we connect with each other just all the time, which is great. And then I also have like my Trump fam, some friends in my residential college, and we hang out actually quite a bit. We're trying
As
to at
in
least
Trumbull.
Trumbull,
Yeah, just making sure that was
Trumbull
picked up
College.
well.
Yeah. And yeah, we meet for dinner every week, and we also like have had some other interactions with each other socially. So it's just a lot of fun. I mean, I'm just happy to spend time with the friends I already have. And once again, like I'm trying to work on valuing people more. So just the way I approach my relationships has been different too. And that I'm just making a bigger effort. I'm not doing anything crazy, but I'm just making a bigger effort to be present, and also just like literally just leave my own room and go into the common room. And just by doing that, I'm having 10 times more social interaction than I would have had.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You're living in a suite, so that allows you to have that kind of easy interaction because people are constantly living around you.
Mm-hmm.
I chose a place that only has individual dorms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking with like a non-COVID mindset because we had to submit our housing assignments. What I think April, no, May 2020. Yeah, May 2020. So
Yep.
that was when we were still planning to come back on campus, and that was when people were saying, "Oh, COVID will die down over the summer before
Yeah.
college starts." Little did we know, but if I had like known what COVID would be like, I would have chosen to live in a suite. And I've seen, I know plenty of other freshmen who are living in suites, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
like so convenient to have people around you who are living with you.
Yeah.
Because for me, and also like people who you can kind of trust with like
Mm-hmm.
managing COVID,
Yep.
because for me, like if you're in a dorm, you're assigned to bathroom pods. So 5 people in the bathroom, 5 people are assigned to one bathroom, so you can only use that bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that every person in that pod is gonna care about, every other individual, because
Yeah.
not all of us have a connection. Some
Yeah.
of us do, some of us don't. And because living in an individual dorm, like it's cool, but like I have to really go out of my way. Like people don't even know where I live on campus because it's so small. I tell them I live out here, they're like, "Oh, King's Court? Where's that?" I've never
Yeah.
been to King's Court, and like, yeah, I'm not surprised because not a lot of people live out here.
Yeah.
So you have to really like venture into campus and make moves to people
Mm-hmm.
to actually have a kind of interaction. But it's a good challenge. So
Yeah. Yeah, I know that you're definitely the type of person who can interact like that, despite not having people like in a suite with you. So I'm happy that, I don't know, you're not this crazy introvert who only keeps to themselves. So, but it is convenient. It's very, very convenient.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I am. We're both introverts, but it's not as if we're antisocial. I mean, we still like hanging out with people and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So transitioning back to when you entered Yale, yeah, we transitioned forward. Now we're transitioning back. You know, nice time shift. What was the biggest change you had to make when you entered college? Was it like a mindset change or something in particular that you felt like you had to do?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, well, kind of similar to what we were just talking about. The biggest change was just the way I applied myself socially. So, I mean, my whole life I've been an introvert. My friends like to, when I say that around my friends, they're like, oh, Dami, that's nonsense, blah, 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 you're extroverted. I'm like, no, that just means I'm comfortable with you, which is like normal. But meeting new people, I love meeting new people. I just don't think I'm good at it, which is like an interesting combination. So, I mean, before coming to Yale, I was at the same school since sixth grade, which is like what, 7 years. Um, Middle school all the way through high school, I was at this. I see you doing the math in your head. Don't challenge it. It was a long time, and I knew those people from the dot. Like when I joined the school had just opened, so I didn't even have to try to make new friends. Everyone was just trying, and that wasn't me not wanting to reach out. It was just being too shy to do so. But I knew that like coming to college, that just wasn't going to work, because also like an American context, even though I am an American context, people are just so good at meeting each other. Like,
hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you? I'm great. How are you? And it's like, oh my, usually I'm just like, fine. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. Like, I never do the, what about you? So
Yeah.
just like those like little like American interaction things, that was like number one. But I mean, in terms of deeper social interactions, I did have to kind of put myself out there, but once again, I was just blessed with people I was randomly assigned with. Um, yeah, the people that were in my suite, many of whom I'm still living with today, and I'm like friends with all of them. And I mean, that was just a starting point, and then we made pretty good friends with this other guy's suite, and just like slowly just started making friends within my residential college, which is like a house system, like Hogwarts, whatever. And just beyond that, like extracurriculars, and just like meeting. I mean, it's very easy to meet other freshmen in freshman year, kind of like what you were saying. Oh, you meet this person and then you meet this other person, and da 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 da. It just kind of keeps going, and I'm happy you're still having that despite
the gift that keeps on giving.
It is the gift that keeps on giving until sophomore year. No, I'm kidding. It's just you meet people differently, and then obviously like freshman year, no COVID, parties, social interactions, outings, so much fun. So I mean, yeah, just number one for me was like socially. Academics, it wasn't a crazy jump. Um, Not saying I'm the stellar student who knows everything, but it just, you just move. Like you just operate and you just work and you just kind of go on. That's what it was like for me. Um, but so socially it was my biggest like issue, but it also wasn't something that I struggled with a lot. But yeah, what would your answer be?
It's interesting. I'm not entirely sure, but you said that you spent, so like for me, you said you spent 7 years in your school, your high school or your secondary school. I spent 9 years there, so we joined in the same year and we graduated from the same school. I'm 2 grades behind you. And like you said, everyone was new. We were the foundation students. So
Yeah.
I mean, just kind of meet people and it's so organic. It just kind of happens. Like my best friend in year 5 is my best friend at age 18, you know?
Yeah. Which is
It just kind of happened. We just happened to be in the same class and then we became friends, right? But I think the biggest adjustment for me was probably just like probably just consistently putting in high levels of effort or above average levels of effort because Like, yeah, in school I was like decent like academically, but it's just I was never a model student. Like I was never that kid in class that parents would come or teachers would come up to and like show them, say, "Oh, let me look at Timmy's notes," and show them to the rest of the class. I was never that.
Oh
dude.
yeah, that was definitely not you.
Yeah, I was never that guy. So
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sound edgy and like be like, "Oh yeah, I was a misfit in school. I was so misunderstood." But it's just like I was never like, picture perfect student. So it was just, and the thing about the British system, because our school followed the British curriculum, you basically can chill for the whole year as long as you show up when it matters most, which means showing up at the end of term to knock out those exams. So in the US, if you're in college, you have to consistently put in high levels of effort because you constantly have assignments, small things, a bunch of small assignments that add up to your final grade. I kind of like that style because there's less pressure on you going to the final exam. But on top of that, you have to be more diligent and when it comes to getting your work done. So it's cool now because I feel like my course load now is easier than my course load my first semester, even though I'm taking more course units, which is ironic. But
Math 104 will do it to you.
Exactly. Math 104 is it's a lifestyle. Yeah. I remember the chat. I left the chat. I remember on that chat, people were just like stressing. It's just so like, you know, like when you walk into a room, you can detect like the stress vibe. It was very present on that group chat. So it was definitely not. It was, and writing seminar was a lot of work, which kept me busy. It wasn't stressful. Like Math 104 was a lot of work and hard work. And we were being tested like every week pretty much. So it's like you feel like you never had time to study. So it was definitely just making sure that I was holding it down throughout the year consistently. I think I just had to make sure that, like, to motivate myself to actually get that work done, I just had to try to tell myself that I want to be better than how I was yesterday. Kind of that athlete mindset. I'm not an athlete, but it's that mindset athletes
we know.
have. Just making sure the viewers know. Speaking of athletes, I want to go into our first sponsorship. So
stop. You don't have a sponsorship. Get out of here.
I got you for a second, though. I got you for a second.
Yeah, see, I was like, for 0.2 seconds, I was thinking about it. I was like, where would they have come? The podcast on a budget? No. Not saying it's not going to be great. It will be great. But there is no way.
Imagine if I started doing like an ad read for Gatorade. Yeah. So people transitioning to our upbringing, people who know both of us say that we had a pretty good relationship. They're like, "Oh, you and your brother are so cute. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh." And I mean, what do you think of our relationship growing up and our dynamic?
Oh gosh. Okay, that's a great question. I mean, piggybacking off of what you just said, we do have a good relationship, and I do thank God for that. I think, I've told you this kind of recently, I don't remember when, but when we were like really, really young, just considering how close we are now, I just find it weird that, like, not super young, like 2 years old when I was 2. It's like when I was like 6, when I was 7, I just did not perceive you. It's like you were not there, but you had to always be there because we were always in the same place. So I don't know how it works, but obviously we had a lot of physical fights and little bit of tiffs here and there.
That
like
physical fights was more when we were really little. Like you were like 6, 7. I was like 4 or 5.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a biting face, but
that wasn't me though.
That was very much both of us. I started it.
Exactly.
I started it
in retaliation to you. I don't do that. That's not my first instinct. Yeah.
It's not my first instinct, but I just like thought about it. I was like, how am I gonna get out of this one? Anyway,
Crazy. I just remembered that. Yeah, you're like that.
I wasn't like that. It was a strategy given the moment in time. But I digress. But yeah, anyway, those tiny little fights here and there. As we got older, I don't know what happened. I don't remember the day of our last fight. We didn't sign a peace treaty or something. It just like stopped one day and we're like, fine, whatever. And I don't know. I think, and I'm not saying we're these special third culture kids, but we are third culture kids by definition. And there's like this interesting intersection of being a third culture kid, having Nigerian heritage, which is a whole nother story. Living in the generation we're living in now, living in Abu Dhabi, where not a lot of people have even heard of, much less live there. So the intersection of all of those things just means like at least from my perspective, you know me the best in the world, I know you the best in the world, and so it just works. Like, just my favorite thing is like when we're talking, you finish my thought, we finish each other's sentences. No, but I finish your thought, you finish mine. Like, we're thinking the exact same thing. Like 99% of the time we have the same perspective. I know what you're about to say before you say it, and it just works. So I think it's really just our upbringing, just like God's grace. We could just not get along, like, and that's a normal thing for some people, but luckily we're not like that. And
Yeah, I would say we didn't fight a ton. I mean, we argued definitely, and we already brushed on physical fights, but
yeah,
I think, like you said, our experiences are just so pretty unique. Our life experiences, and they're just things that we relate to that no one else will relate to. You know what I mean? So that's why I feel comfortable telling you stuff, because like I know you get it. And yeah, like you said, living in Abu Dhabi, a place where a lot of people haven't heard of. I mean, it's kind of interesting because like we're so used to living there. We were there for like what, 9 years.
Yeah.
But then when you meet people in the US, they're like, "Oh, dude, you live in Abu Dhabi? That's like so cool."
You guys ride camels to school? Yeah.
I haven't heard that out here, but that's the question you could get asked. I'm not surprised if you would. But usually I say Abu Dhabi, and then like the next time I meet them, somehow it changes to Dubai. Like, not from me saying it, but it's just like how, because when someone says it, you translate it into your own meaning. They translate that to Dubai. Yeah. And I'm like, not quite. But you're not too far off.
Close, hour away. Yeah. No, that happens all the time. Yeah.
So you live in Dubai? Is it like gold fountains over there? Dude, that's so cool. So you talked a little bit about how it was like to be the oldest. It's just the two of us. You're the oldest, I'm the youngest. Is it really that hard, or is it just exaggerated? Is that like older sibling pain just exaggerated?
That's a great question. It fluctuates. It really does fluctuate. So, I mean, I think we've reached a steady state now because because we're both out of the house. I mean, since the second I like left for college, I reached a steady state. Okay, like, you were doing your own thing back with our parents in Abu Dhabi. I wasn't aware. I was doing my own thing here, and I just didn't feel the responsibilities that have just been like hounding over me every day. But it's just it only really becomes not an issue, but a prominent like force in my mind when there's a situation in which the firstborn should have known better. Oh, damn, you should have known better because you're the firstborn. You should have done this instead because you're the older one. Doesn't matter what your brother's doing. It matters what you do. Da, 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 da. That's my least favorite sentence in the world. So it's like, it's like moments like that where it's like, and I get pissed. Like, I'm like, come on. He's also a human. He's practically my age. I know 1 year, 9 months is a difference, but he's, I took the argument when I was 8 and you were 6, or even when I was 12 and you were 10. I am 20 and you are 18. Come on. There's no reason why we should be, speaking that way anymore. But it's honestly not an issue. And I mean, would I prefer to be a second born? I mean, sure, but like I said, you always want what you want, what you don't have. So maybe if I were the second, I would want all the responsibility and want all the trust that I got. But overall, I'm not saying we have bad parents. Obviously, we have the best parents in the world. But overall, it's been fine. It's just like when there is something where my firstbornness comes into question, that's when I hate it. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, I'm chilling.
Yeah, that's a great the example you gave where you talked about, oh, just because he's younger doesn't mean you should do the same thing. Like, because the thing is, as long as there's a big age gap between us.
Exactly.
So even though, so like if you do something, I'm old enough to process what you do in that moment. You know what I mean? Because we're so close in age. So when I heard that, I was like, damn, I'm really getting off scot-free. I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah.
So I do disagree with that. Obviously, that benefited me.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining. But if I had to choose between being the oldest of two and being the youngest of two, I'll choose being the youngest. Just simply because I do have some freedoms. It's not as if I'm like in chains, like.
Here's point number 2 that I didn't make. As the firstborn, we chip away at the parents' walls slowly over time. So we take the heat. I've been the force field in front of you, and slowly I've been taking the heat, so only like a little bit of warmth reaches you. So I have experienced all the bad things, so that once our parents get to you, they're like, okay, yeah, he's fine. Just go ahead and do it. Da, da, da. That's another thing.
That's facts. That's also a benefit of being the younger one, because things come a little easier when it comes to like things your parents are reluctant to do or allow you to do.
Yeah.
For the first one, the second one, you're more likely to have those things or get to experience those things. Especially, I can imagine, like, I wonder what like our uncles and aunts who are the last siblings, because our parents have multiple siblings. I wonder what they would think if you asked them that question, because there are multiple people who went before them before it got to their time.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to the hour mark, and one thing on Oluswole we like to do is the Oluswole Bowl. So I want to ask you something.
What? Whoa. One thing you what?
Oluswole Bowl.
What? Okay, what is that?
Like a quiz bowl is like a quiz.
Oh.
So like Oluswole Bowl, we just ask you some questions that are like completely unrelated to what we were just talking about, and you can give an answer to them.
That's cool.
All right. So name a food that you think is underrated.
Underrated food. Oh my gosh. I think Nutella is underrated.
Of course.
Yeah, of course I'd say that. Am I supposed to give reasons?
Yeah.
Oh, just because I've eaten it every single day since I was like 5 years old. Not every day, but yeah, it's just good.
Yeah, Nutella's fire. Your number one pet peeve.
I made a list of this. I literally typed out a list. How am I going to choose one? I mean, just the first thing that comes to my head is people chewing with their mouth open. It's just like the worst thing in the world. Oh my, just close your mouth, please. But I have a list of like 21 things, and it's a working list. So that's a loaded question.
All right. If you were, I hate these like stranded on an island scenarios. I have a class where you got a lot of them. And it's like, okay, nice. But let me just play off of that and say, if you were stranded on an island, would you choose to live without books or live without music? So I know you're really interested in both. So I was wondering.
That is a really good question. Okay, I think that Dami pre-2017 would have said live without music. Dami post 2017 is experiencing academic burnout and has a fried brain. So still loves to read, but would choose music over books. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go for music over books as well.
Yeah, the same 6 songs you listen to over and over. Yeah. That'll be an entertaining island deserted experience.
It'll be a movie. Let's go. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh my gosh. Not this being an interview. Well, okay. I would be 30. Wow.
Damn.
I guess I was talking about my future with one of my friends earlier today, and I was like, girl, I don't know. But where I want to be, I can give some big things. I definitely want to have started a family by that time. And I mean, have at least one kid. I definitely want a successful career. I hope I would have gone to grad school by that time. I cannot give specifics on what career and what I'm going to grad school for because I'm still figuring that out. Yeah, also I hope I would have, I don't know, this sounds cliche, but impacted the world in some way. Not saying I have to be a celebrity or give all my money to charity, but just like something that I do regularly that is touching 2 people or like 3 people. Something like that. Yeah.
Cool. Insightful response. Sounds like something you would write in a college essay.
Exactly. Yeah. I hate that question.
Yeah. So I think that wraps the first episode of the Oluswole podcast. Yay. Thanks a lot, Dami, for coming on the pod. We appreciate you having here. Oluswole out on all platforms. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, if you're listening to this on Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Links in the description for the socials. And peace.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.